I never imagined that a single careless choice could unravel everything I believed about myself. But that night, when everything changed, it began as nothing more than an argument that had spiraled beyond control. My name is Daniel, and for years I carried myself with the arrogance of someone untouchable. My wife, Serena, was patient, kind, and sharper than most ever realized. Yet I had become careless with her trust. It started with small things: ignoring her advice, brushing off her feelings, letting my ego dominate every conversation. But one evening I went too far. I lied about my whereabouts, thinking it harmless, only for her to uncover the truth before I could spin a convincing story. I returned home to find the living room dimly lit, Serena standing in its center like a shadow waiting for me. She didn't shout or cry, which made it worse. Her eyes were calm, calculating, as if she had already anticipated every excuse I could muster. I stumbled through explanations, my words halting and meaningless, and she silenced them effortlessly with a quiet authority that pinned me in place. She told me she no longer wanted arguments or apologies. She demanded real change and declared herself done with my arrogance. At first I laughed, assuming this was just another dramatic moment. But when she handed me a small black bag and said, "Tonight, you'll understand what it feels like to live outside the armor you hide behind," something in her voice stopped me cold. I opened the bag and my heart raced. Inside were clothes I had never imagined myself wearing. A silky blouse, a soft pleated skirt, stockings, delicate shoes, and a wig the color of golden honey. I stared in disbelief, and yet Serena's gaze never wavered. She told me that if I wanted to stay in our house, if I wanted to show I could understand humility, I would wear them. I tried to protest, but her quiet intensity pinned me in place. I realized in that moment that this was no request. Something deep inside, fear, guilt, the weight of my own missteps, kept me from fleeing. Hands trembling, I carried the bag to the bedroom. Every step toward it felt like walking deeper into a tunnel I couldn't escape. I set the clothes on the bed and stared at them for what felt like hours. The fabric shimmered in the low light, soft and inviting, yet terrifying in what it demanded. My reflection looked back at me with disbelief. I peeled off my shirt clumsily, the house's silence wrapping around me like a challenge. Sliding the blouse over my shoulders, I flinched at the cool, delicate touch of the fabric. It felt too light, too revealing, and every movement made me feel exposed. The skirt followed, brushing against my legs like a whisper from someone else's life. The stockings were the hardest. Rolling them up, the nylon clung to my calves in a foreign way that made my chest tighten. Finally, I lifted the wig, golden strands slipping like sunlight through my fingers. As I placed it atop my head, its weight felt like a quiet promise. The man I had been, confident, careless, untouchable, was gone. In his place stood someone fragile, compelling, and wholly unfamiliar. My breath hitched as the door clicked open behind me. Serena stepped in, her eyes sweeping over me with measured calm. For the first time I couldn't read her expression. She didn't smile or gloat. She simply observed, like an artist studying a canvas. "This is only the beginning," she said softly but firmly. "Tonight you'll learn to listen, to follow, to feel what it's like when the image you cling to is stripped away." I wanted to speak, to beg, to protest, but no words came. She moved closer, adjusting the wig with a gentle touch that sent shivers down my spine. "From this moment," she whispered, "your punishment begins. And it won't end until you understand why it must be permanent." My heart hammered, every beat a reminder that I had stepped into something I no longer controlled. A small part of me wondered if I even wanted to turn back. Serena led me to the living room with the precise calm of someone who had rehearsed every detail. The soft rustle of my skirt followed each step, a constant reminder that I was no longer the man who entered this house. Warm lamps glowed, but the atmosphere hummed with an unspoken tension, like a storm just beneath the walls. She gestured for me to sit in a chair at the room's center. I hesitated, but the authority in her gaze left no room for resistance. The cushion sank beneath me, the skirt spreading lightly over my legs. Serena circled once, taking in every detail without mockery or laughter. "You've spent years making choices without considering their impact on anyone else," she said steadily. "Tonight, every choice belongs to me. You will learn what it feels like to lose control, to rely on someone else for guidance." My throat tightened. I wanted to apologize, to promise change, but her tone left no room for empty words. Kneeling, she took my hands in hers. "This isn't just punishment, Daniel," she continued. "It's a mirror. For years, you hid behind a version of masculinity that made you feel powerful, but blind. I want you to see yourself without it." Her words cut deeper than any accusation. In the darkened window behind her, my reflection blurred. The golden hair, delicate blouse, trembling figure, intertwined with memories of arrogance, careless remarks, and dismissive gestures I once thought harmless. Serena reached for a makeup bag on the table. Brushes, powders, and colors were revealed. "We're not finished," she said. "Tonight isn't about embarrassment. It's about transformation." I tried to whisper a protest, but she gently pressed a finger to my lips. "Trust me," she said. The first brush stroke of foundation felt cool and silky, erasing the familiar roughness of my face. Her movements were precise, tender, coaxing something hidden to the surface. With each touch, my usual defenses melted away. Mascara tickled my lashes. Lipstick warmed my lips. I felt both smaller and lighter, as if layers of pride and stubbornness were being wiped clean. Serena stepped back. "Look," she said, turning the mirror toward me. The reflection was unfamiliar yet unmistakably mine. Features softened, reshaped into delicate beauty I never expected. For a long moment I couldn't decide whether to recoil or lean closer. "This is not a disguise," Serena said firmly. "It's a reflection of what's possible when you let go of the mask you wear every day. This is humility when you stop fighting it." My eyes burned with an emotion I couldn't name. Shame, awe, perhaps both. I gazed at my painted hands, feeling the tremor in my chest grow. Serena knelt again. "Tonight is just the beginning. I will guide you, but understanding is your choice. You can fight it and remain the man who hurt me, or you can learn something deeper. Know this, the person you were is already gone." Her words settled like a heavy blanket. This was not a single night of punishment. It was the first step in something permanent. Fear coiled inside me, but beneath it, a quiet curiosity about the emerging self stirred. Serena retrieved a small box from behind the couch, neatly packed with clothes, shoes, and accessories. "Tomorrow," she said softly, "you will wear these, and each day something new. You will learn to see the world from a different perspective until you understand why I chose this path." My heart thudded painfully. This wasn't a game. It wasn't ending tonight. "This is no longer punishment," she whispered. "It's a journey. And when it's over, Daniel, you may not wish to return to who you were." The room fell silent, the words hanging, a promise and a warning intertwined. I sat frozen in the gentle rustle of my skirt, realizing the life I had known was already slipping from my grasp. Morning sunlight crept through the curtains, casting a soft glow across the bed where I had slept fitfully, the unfamiliar clothes a constant reminder that this was no dream. I awoke to the faint scent of makeup and Serena moving in the kitchen. My instinct was to strip everything off, to reclaim the man I had been. But in the mirror across the room I froze. The reflection was no longer just a man in women's clothing. It was someone vulnerable, searching, uncertain. I dressed carefully, my fingers clumsy. The skirt's soft swish followed me down the hallway, a constant reminder of my new reality. Serena's calm "good morning" unsettled me more than any anger ever could. She gestured toward neatly folded clothes on the table. "These are for today. After breakfast you'll change. We have places to be." Panic surged. Places to be? I hadn't imagined leaving the house dressed like this. Heart pounding, I obeyed, the skirt brushing lightly against my thighs. Serena guided me through breakfast with deliberate precision. No reassurance, no escape. Afterward, she led me to the bedroom where the new outfit awaited. A simple pastel dress, soft and flowing, paired with flats and a small purse. My breath caught. The clothes were practical, casual, meant for ordinary life, yet every piece reinforced the lessons of the previous night. "Brush your wig," she instructed. "Take your time. No mockery, only expectation." Each stroke smoothed the strands over my shoulders, softening my angles, transforming my face. When I emerged, Serena's approving nod sent waves of conflicting emotions through me. Pride, embarrassment, fear, and a strange satisfaction mingled. She handed me a light coat. "We're going shopping," she said, calm yet firm. The car ride was endless. Every stoplight, every passerby felt like a test. Hands sweaty inside delicate gloves, heart racing, I clutched the steering wheel, or rather clutched myself. Serena drove with serene confidence, offering no guidance, no escape. We arrived at a quiet boutique. Walk beside me, speak when spoken to, and remember, every glance you receive is only as powerful as you allow it to be, she instructed. Outside, the air was sharp, world-aware of my transformation. Inside, the scent of fabric and perfume enveloped me. The assistant greeted us warmly, showing Serena dresses. Then Serena asked, "Daniel, which suits you?" My name felt both grounding and terrifying. I pointed to a lavender dress. The assistant smiled, gesturing to the fitting room. Moments later, I stood in front of another reflection, the dress hugging my frame in a way both alien and comforting. For a moment, I forgot my fear, tracing the hem with trembling fingers, feeling an unfamiliar calm settle over me. Serena knocked softly and asked if I was ready. I opened the door, my heart pounding, and stepped out to face her. Her eyes softened as they took me in, and for the first time since this had begun, she smiled. "That," she said quietly, "is how you should see yourself, not as a man pretending but as someone capable of change." Her words struck deeper than I expected, leaving me utterly speechless. The sales assistant fussed over the dress, complimenting the fit, while Serena observed me with an expression I couldn't read. Pride? Relief? Perhaps both. As we left the store carrying several carefully chosen outfits, a strange realization began to settle over me. Each step in the delicate shoes felt less like punishment and more like a slow shedding of the man I had once believed I had to be. Serena's plan was no longer about control. It was about transformation, a deliberate dismantling of the version of Daniel who had hurt her. And though fear still lingered, another feeling, softer and far more dangerous, began to stir beneath it. It was the quiet possibility that this journey was awakening a part of myself I had never dared to explore. The days that followed unfolded like a meticulously written script, each one pushing me further from the Daniel I had known and closer to someone I barely recognized. Serena maintained a steady rhythm, never rushing, never allowing me to retreat. Each morning began with carefully selected clothing, lessons in posture, soft-spoken conversation, and small tasks that compelled me to engage with the world beyond our home. At first, every outing felt like walking a tightrope. Every glance from strangers, every subtle smile from a shopkeeper, made my heart pound. But over time the panic gradually gave way to something more complex. There were fleeting, undeniable moments when I found myself smoothing a hem or adjusting my hair, not out of fear but from a quiet desire to belong. Serena never mocked me. Instead, she guided me with calm patience that disarmed my defenses. She corrected my walk with a gentle hand at my back, reminded me to keep my voice steady, and celebrated each small victory with a nod or faint smile. Her guidance gradually became less like punishment and more like mentorship, though the weight of our unspoken agreements still lingered. Each evening, after removing the wig and makeup, I stared at my reflection, feeling the strange collision of two lives, the man I had insisted on being and the delicate figure I now embodied so completely. One afternoon, Serena took me to a small salon tucked away on a quiet street. The scent of hair products and warm air enveloped me as we stepped inside. A stylist with kind eyes greeted us, gesturing toward a chair. Serena spoke softly to her, and though I couldn't hear the exact words, I understood what was about to happen. My breath caught. This was not a wig appointment. Serena had arranged for a real haircut. "Today," she said, placing a gentle hand on my shoulder, "we take another step forward. No more hiding behind something removable. This is about permanence." I froze. Panic rose like a tidal wave. My hair had always been a symbol of control, a physical marker of the confident man I projected. Cutting it, reshaping it into something softer, felt like erasing the last tangible link to who I had been. I opened my mouth to protest, but Serena's eyes met mine in the mirror. No anger. Only quiet determination, leaving no room for escape. The stylist began. The gentle snip of scissors echoed like distant thunder. Each lock of hair that fell seemed to carry away a piece of my old life. The sensation of being reshaped was terrifying and paradoxically soothing. When the chair spun, I barely recognized the reflection. My hair, once thick and unruly, now framed my face in soft, elegant lines, blurring the boundaries of gender. It wasn't overtly feminine, yet undeniably different. Lighter, freer. Serena leaned close and whispered, This is who you can be when you stop clinging to the past. Her words settled in my chest like a weight I could not shake. I wanted to hate her for taking so much, yet I felt an unexpected warmth, a strange gratitude more unsettling than the haircut itself. That evening we returned home to a quiet dinner. The house felt transformed, warmer, intimate, as though the tension of the past weeks had shifted into something unspoken but powerful. Afterward she asked me to sit with her in the living room. The soft glow of the lamps bathed her face, revealing an expression I hadn't seen in years. "Do you understand why I've done this?" she asked, her voice gentle yet edged with vulnerability. I hesitated, searching for words. "Because I hurt you," I said finally. "Because I broke your trust." She nodded slowly. "Yes, but it's more than that. You lived believing strength meant control, that love could be taken for granted. I wanted you to see that strength can also mean surrender, that identity can be a cage. I wanted you to feel the weight of change, not as punishment but as possibility." Her words struck deep. For weeks I had thought of this as revenge, a carefully orchestrated humiliation. But sitting there in soft fabrics, with a haircut that no longer fit the man I had been, something shifted within me. Serena wasn't trying to destroy me. She was forcing me to confront the pieces of myself buried beneath pride and arrogance. Tears welled in my eyes, surprising me with their intensity. Serena reached for my hand, her touch warm and steady. "This isn't about losing yourself," she said quietly. "It's about finding the parts of you that were always there, waiting to be seen." We sat in silence for a long while, the only sound the quiet hum of the evening. The clothes, the makeup, the haircut, all had begun as punishment. Now they spoke a language I had never dared to articulate aloud. A jolt of clarity hit me. The man I had been wasn't being destroyed. He was being remade. Serena squeezed my hand. "Tomorrow," she said, "we take the final step. After that, it will be your choice whether to continue. But whatever you decide, Daniel, you will never see yourself the same way again." Her voice carried promise and warning. As the night deepened, I felt a quiet certainty grow within me. Tomorrow would not merely mark the end of her plan. It would mark the beginning of something entirely new. Something I wasn't sure I was ready for but could no longer avoid. Morning arrived with a heavy stillness, wrapping around me like a whisper of unspoken truths. I woke before the alarm, the pale light of dawn casting a ceremonial glow. My reflection startled me, not because of the makeup or clothing but because of the calm in my eyes. The frantic resistance that once defined me had vanished, replaced by a steadiness I had not known I possessed. Serena's gentle knock broke the silence. "Good morning," she said softly, carrying a garment bag that gleamed faintly in the early light. She laid it across the bed before me. "Today you decide whether this journey was punishment or something more." My heart raced as she unzipped the bag, revealing a carefully chosen outfit. A soft cream dress with elegant, subtle lines, paired with modest heels and a simple necklace that glinted like a promise. Her eyes held mine. "This is not about humiliation. It's about acceptance. I want you to meet yourself, who you are now, not who you were forced to be." I took the dress in trembling hands. Dressing felt less like obedience and more like acknowledgement. Each button fastened, each strap adjusted, sealed a chapter one could never undo. The heels lifted me slightly, forcing a posture that was vulnerable yet empowering. Serena applied makeup with careful precision. When she guided me to the full-length mirror, I drew a sharp breath. The reflection staring back was no longer a man in borrowed clothes. The haircut framed my face with softness. The makeup highlighted features I had never appreciated. The dress flowed with elegance, belonging entirely to me. For a long moment I couldn't look away. I saw Daniel, but also someone freer, someone who had learned to listen, to adapt, to relinquish brittle pride. Serena's voice broke the silence. "This is the permanent part. Not the clothes, not the hair, but the understanding. The Daniel who clung to control no longer exists. You can choose old habits, but you can never unsee yourself." A tremor ran through me. Permanent. Not a threat but a truth about identity. This journey had reshaped me in ways no haircut or wardrobe ever could. Serena stepped closer. "I don't need you to stay dressed like this forever. I only need you to remember what it feels like to be vulnerable, to see the world without the armor you wore for so long. That is my revenge, not to break you but to ensure you never forget." The weight of her words settled like a gentle tide. The journey I had feared as punishment revealed itself as something far deeper. Serena had not destroyed me. She had dismantled the arrogance that kept me from understanding love, respect, and equality. I turned to the mirror again. The face reflected neither fully male nor female, neither victim nor conqueror. It was simply me, an amalgamation of past and present, strength and vulnerability. For the first time in years I felt whole. Serena squeezed my hand. "You are free to choose what comes next," she said, warmth and finality in her voice. "Whatever path you take, the lessons of these weeks will remain. That is the permanence I wanted for you." I met her gaze, gratitude swelling so intensely it nearly brought me to tears. The fear, the humiliation, the tension, all had led to this clarity. True transformation was never about clothing or appearances. It was the courage to confront who you are and who you might become. Serena's revenge had never been about cruelty. It was love demanding growth, refusing to let someone remain small. I looked at the figure in the mirror, certainty settling over me. The punishment was over. The journey, however, had only just begun. The person I was now would never again be the untouchable man who had walked into that living room weeks ago.